people to join in. We can't shut the... Oh, the camera.
Hello. Welcome to the Music Lens.
That should be fine.
Okay. Welcome to the Music Lens podcast with me, Alex Allegra.
And Katie Fee.
Yes.
You're all bundled up, and I'm like, summer.
Well, I wore this to work yesterday because it's cold in my office, and
Fun.
I'm a little hungover, so I'm tired.
Just a little bit.
I'm just a little bit.
It's fine.
It's fine. Today we're gonna dive back into our artist inventory series. This might be a shorter bit of an episode, but
We'll see. I had a random question just because I'm wearing a Belmont shirt, and it made me think of it because I've kind of thought about this before, but I don't know what the requirements are to be an adjunct professor, but would you ever consider being one in the future?
oh yeah, I've looked into it.
You've looked into
Yeah.
it? Okay. I was like, I probably don't meet the requirements at the moment to have because of like lack of experience, but yeah, I was just curious.
Yeah. No, I've thought about it. I know some people I used to work with, like at Starbucks and stuff like that were adjunct as far as like the acting and stuff like that, though. So,
Yeah. I don't know. I just thought like, I don't know if I'd want to be like a full-time teacher in the sense of like my sister is.
yeah.
But,
Well, I mean, I've definitely looked into teaching in general. I mean, that was what I was going to talk about for like side gigs and stuff like
Yeah.
that. I mean,
or even looking
even
at,
being like a private instructor is like a voice teacher or like a guitar teacher or a songwriting coach, or I know one thing that is in town, the Roots Academy does it, and there was a program back home that did it too. You could do like rock band type things and like be a rock coach, like, or not like a band coach, and like you basically just like set a bunch of kids up together and then you like teach them how to play instruments together and how to be in a group and how to have stage presence and, you know, work a rehearsal and how to do live performances, and then you essentially create a band together and then you do a performance recital type thing. It was a cool experience. I definitely liked it when I did it. And the kids that do it at the Roots Academy, which is where I take a dance class, it's cool to see them do it, although it's like always the same songs. I swear every class like does like very similar songs, like even back home we did the same kinds of songs, so it's just like funny to hear them singing like, gosh, what is it, it's like always like a Queen song or something of like the 80s era that you hear, or like a Green Day song or that kind of stuff, like pop punk 2000s music. So it's just funny to hear because it always throws me back to high school anyways. So
Yeah, I did like volunteer vocal teacher stuff at a rock and roll academy. Is there like a nationwide one that's called Rock and Roll Academy or something?
no, but there's
Okay.
like gosh, what's it called?
So I feel like there is some like bigger organization.
School of
This
Rock
was- yeah.
is one that's
This
like,
was
I
just
thought
like
was
a-
just in my area, but there's
in
one
my
down here.
hometown.
So
And then I got shut down for, that's a long story. Nothing to do with the school itself, just to do with the owner. But yeah, I had to like teach my oldest student who's like 14, which felt very weird because I was like only a couple years older. So it kind of felt weird to be teaching her. But anyways, like she would do the bands and audition for the bands, and there'd be like rock, but then also pop. What was that one song? I think they've done like, Shut Up and Dance With Me. She had to do that one, but then also did like Paradise City. So there's like a couple different bands throughout our time together that she was a part of, and so it was very diverse musically. But
yeah.
it was fun to do stuff like that. But I wasn't part of the getting the band together and teaching them how to be a band part. It was just like focusing on her vocals and her performance, so that way she could be ready for the band.
Yeah. No, I mean, I could definitely see myself being like a theater teacher at a high school, or like, you know, doing private voice lessons. I mean, because I'm very, is eclectically the right word? Like trained. Like
Yeah.
I grew up doing classical voice and musical theater for 10 years in voice lessons, plus all the other stuff that I did outside of that for like songwriting and band. And then in college I did pop vocal training and did a whole bunch of semesters in that. So like I feel like my foundation is like really strong, and I do love the idea of teaching. Like I love the idea of giving back, which is probably why the podcast exists as well. It's just like,
right, 'cause we do have education with it.
Yeah, I definitely always, I mean, for the longest time I wanted to be a teacher. I always thought I was going to be a teacher. Like I just like that aspect of myself and giving back to the next generation in some way. So it's definitely crossed my mind. It's tough to be a full-time teacher while also pursuing a dream like this. Not a dream, but you know, a career like this. And so I have been recording lately. That has been my newest endeavor, which I'm very proud of myself. You know, I've had all this equipment sitting here for the longest time, and I always was like, I'm going to set up a music room and I'm going to do all this stuff. And finally I had it all, and I don't know what made me, I think it's the fact of the matter is, even the friends that I want to support and give money to and produce my stuff, because I know I'm obviously just very amateur at it because I just started out even trying to play with stuff like that. But two things. One, I have no money. Like, a lot of my money goes back to my bills at this point in my life, and it's very, even my not cheapest friends, but just like the friends that I'd like to support and give, like I want to have to pay them. Like, don't get me wrong.
Yeah, they deserve to be paid.
But even at their cheapest rates, it's still, I have no budget for it right now. I think every artist can relate to that. So I started doing more of my own production, because I also, this is the second part of it, as much as I love working with other producers and hearing their things, and, you know, I think I'm very excited to work with Christian too in this next coming project, because even though it's hard for me to articulate exactly how I want a song to sound in my head, I still think he's going to do a really good job with whatever, because like even I can't figure it out sometimes, and he seems like he's going to be able to figure out how to turn some of my pop country sounding songs, because like when I write it, I think it genuinely leans more towards pop country just because I'm playing it acoustically.
Yeah, guitar definitely makes it more country.
Yeah, for some reason. And I think that he's just going to take it and be able to do the synth pop that I want it to sound like, but I don't entirely know how to. But then like I was having, like, I couldn't fall asleep the last couple weeks because I was like, oh, well, what if we took it and made it sound like this? And so then I was like waking up and I was like, let's just try it. Let's just try putting it together on my own. So then I'm like building sounds, and like, plus I can, every time I write a song, I hear every instrumentation when I write it. But then like as time goes on and I start just playing it acoustically, like I lose all of that because it just like starts to sound how it does on guitar with the vocals and everything, and just acoustically, so that like then it's hard for me to put all the stuff that when I originally heard it I could put back on top of it. So I'm like trying to not lose that inspiration and creativity of it, and trying to also be able to articulate more to producers how I want things to sound by creating my own little demo of it. And then I don't have to, as much as again I want to be able to pay people to make demos, it's a lot easier I think to put a song on TikTok or something with a demo behind it, because the general public I feel like responds more to more produced versions of songs than just
it catches their ear and eyes better for a video with that versus just like another person singing. And I think it makes it seem more professional in a way, of someone who's more serious about it versus like someone who just happens to have a guitar and is just singing songs.
I feel like even
I do that,
and it's like there's nothing against just sitting and playing guitar, but I feel like unless you have an audience already built up, or you have
like a unique perspective of the video, like Emily Ann Roberts has posted a couple acoustic ones, but it's like she was like swinging in an egg chair and there was a cool acoustic thing happening, like reverb happening in the space, so it's like that drew my attention more so than just like another person playing guitar.
And I'm starting to lose interest even in that in my own self. And so, like, just sitting on the, like, I watched the video back and it's just not getting the reaction even from myself that I thought it was going to give. So I'm trying to figure out, like, fun ways to just be creative, even though, I mean, like, I hate that it's all for social media at the end of the day, but, like, I'm just trying to be more creative with myself. And so I'm taking songs that I, like, love to do, even that are already other, like, cover songs, and starting to, like, put my own little spins on them and, like, trying to recreate them and in my programs and stuff. And like I said, and now I feel like I'm finally, like, getting all the money's worth that my family and me put into all of this stuff, because it's just been sitting here collecting dust for so long. And so I'm finally putting it to use, which makes me feel happy too. Although I did try to use my electric guitar the other day, and I've never changed the strings on that thing, and I don't know how to change it on an electric guitar. So, but those strings are so fucked right now. So
okay, fun.
I need to go to a guitar center and get some help on, or at least, like, learn how to do it, because I can change it acoustic, but like, it's not like I can't. But electric's a little different. They say it's the same, but, like, I don't know. I just feel like I'm gonna fuck it up somehow.
Google, because that's how I learned, was looking up a step-by-step video or whatever. But I need to change mine. For some reason, there's, like, a little tiny, like, piece of a zip tie that is going around in my guitar right now. I don't know how it got in there, where it's from, but I heard a rattling yesterday. I was like, what is this, another beetle? It's not, thankfully, but just a little piece of zip tie, and I'm like, well, I need to change the strings, so it's gonna live in there until I do that, because it's just gonna be easier to get it out without the strings covering the hole.
Okay.
But yeah, I literally put the pack of strings on my coffee table, so when I get home from recording this, I'll remember, oh yeah, I need to do that today, because I need to do it before I leave town.
Yeah, my strings, the last I changed my acoustic guitar strings, they were gross and dirty, and they just were starting to, like, lose tune, and it was bugging me, because it would, like, stay in tune but then, like, also kind of be out, and I was like, and then I changed them. And I thought they were the same strings I've always changed them, but then when I got them out, normally mine are brass, and these ones are all steel, and the sound is not, I'm not liking it so much, so they might get changed out soon in general, because I'm not sure how much I like them, but I also don't want to waste money on strings, so I'm, like, trying to give it a little bit of time, and then I'll switch them back out. But yeah, it's a little brighter than I normally play with, and it just sounds, even though they are acoustic strings too, and that's the other thing, is normally I find that, like, the strings look like they'd be built more for an electric guitar, but they're acoustic strings, so it's like they're just not it. You know, they're just not it right now, but it's fine. Maybe we save artist inventory for next week and do other side gigs, since we've
since we started with that
music sensed side gigs for musicians to make money, like the teaching aspect of it.
I'm trying to think of what all we included. We did do, like, a artist, like, revenue streams episode that y'all can refer back to, that has, like, the stuff about
if I put it here.
If you put it here. If not, yeah, okay. But that one talks about, like, royalties and all that stuff, but I guess we could go into stuff that maybe is, like, music adjacent.
Yeah.
And maybe not even music related, but, like, is still not a 9-to-5 job that takes up all your time. So that way you do have the time to also be creating music.
Yeah. I also find that even as professionals, I see a lot of people still have a side gig. Like, they're a lighting tech out on the road, but then they also have a merch company on the sidelines.
Yeah.
So, like, I find that people in music still want to do other aspects of music all the time. So, you know, if you're... Here are some other things. So, that one's a big one. I think I know a lot of people in college did that as a music major. They would say, go down to the School of Rock and get a job as a teacher, so that you're also building your own skills still, because you're still playing your instrument every day, even if it's like back to basics. But sometimes you need a back to basics for yourself too. And then you know that you're like fully trained and adapted into your instrument, that you can teach it to somebody else. I mean, that's a whole different skill set. And just having a great instrument doesn't mean you can always teach it.
Right.
So know your strengths and weaknesses about them. I think another one, I hope we didn't talk about some of these already in the other episode, but as a social media management person,
No, I don't think. I think it was specifically like revenue sources as an artist.
Yeah.
So these are things that are like adjacent to that.
So social media and content strategy, you're already kind of doing it for yourself anyway. So if you want to want
to like help others with their content kind of idea,
everyone's
of manage
always looking
other
for
people.
That. But you also have to put together a portfolio and actually show people that you do that. I mean, I have a whole separate section on my website for like my photography and social media and stuff like that. That's like it's supposed to be under a password page, but it's not at the moment. So I need to fix that.
Yeah. I guess specifically photography too. If you don't want to get into like the details of making social posts for it, you can be just taking pictures for people, either as like a live show photographer or like a photo shoot for
a portrait photographer.
And photographer for, artists always need content for socials. You don't necessarily have to do the actual social part of like captioning and planning out posts and stuff for them, but they might want to do that part themselves, but they need someone to take the pictures to post.
And then it's kind of like a double win for you. I mean, like why we also did our content day is because it was like we were making some money off of it to help other people and do it while also getting content for ourselves, because then we were able to do a lot more of the behind the scenes stuff, and it all benefited everybody. I mean, there's nothing wrong when it benefits everybody, and you get to make a little money on the side as well. Like everyone needs content these days. It's like, and I see so many posts on pages like the Yep and photography pages of like people looking for content managers, because I mean, even as frustrating, sometimes I just want to give in and throw the towel in and say somebody else take over my content. Like I get it. Like it's tough. And the people that do it well do it with their whole hearts. And I don't want to say like just because you're already doing it and everything means that like you have to be putting your services out there too for other artists. Like there are people that make this their whole career and their jobs and everything. And you know what? If you end up loving it so much, like there's nothing wrong with chasing after that too. Yeah. So, sorry, that was a little preachy there. I have to tell myself sometimes that too. I'm like, it's okay to like love a lot of things in the industry,
right? Yeah.
I think my biggest thing was always going through Belmont too. It was like, unless you eat, sleep, and breathe music and you do nothing else in the industry, you're done. Like you will never get a contract, you will never get a manager, you will never get X, Y, and Z. But honestly, the reality of it is a lot of us are sitting here not getting signed right out of college, and they need to pay their bills somehow. So how do you keep yourself networking with other people? How do you keep yourself still using your creativity and tools and everything else? And I've found that my music has never been, when I tell people I also work in social media management, it's not like, oh, you're a social media manager, you're not a musician for real anymore. Because there's plenty of people that still, I mean, my CEO of my company plays in a band and goes on tour still. But he also runs his own company. I mean, like everybody, and every company that I have gone into has always been like, now there are some drawbacks, and I'll explain that in a second too, has been like, oh, you play music? That's awesome. Like our accountant also plays in a bass in a band and goes on tour. Like it is always like everybody has that. Like everybody in music is either like they want to be around music so much that they got a job in it, but they don't have any talent in any instrument and so that's like their job, and they just love music so much. Or they also had the dream of going and being a full-time musician, and then they also pay their bills, and sometimes they love both and they kept up with that, and sometimes you get discovered and you go and do that. And there's a couple rare times that like your internships pay off in certain ways. But then there's also the backlash of some companies, for legal reasons, don't want to hire a musician. For like publishers, I know that was always like a sketchy line to draw, because you're around lyrics a lot, and they don't want to get in trouble for you reading lyrics and putting them into databases. And then being a songwriter, you're going to go back and maybe you subconsciously use a line or something like that. So there is a little bit of some copyright reasons why people wouldn't want to hire you. I was always told to just be honest if asked, but don't openly give that information. Like, don't come in and be like, I am an artist first and foremost, and you're never going to tell me otherwise. Like, you're not going to go into an interview like that. That's not going to get you a job. You know, but if they ask, you say honestly, yes, but you're going to give your 100% to your job, and there is a way to do both, and a lot of people have respected me for doing both equally well. So, and they encourage me to do my music as well. Like, there's never been, so you have to find your right community for that.
Yeah, my last internship at Belmont was like a digital marketing one at a label, and I never outright in the interview process or anything said I was an artist, but they also didn't ask. So I was like, I'm just gonna not
somehow they've always asked,
because so. I feel like other times when I do mention it, I didn't get the internship, and then I got this one, and I did like semester and a half, because this was COVID, so like the first semester kind of it just got canceled halfway through, and then I got to come back for another semester because of that. But they did like exit interview type things. Like towards the end, I had to interview 2 or 3 people on the staff and just ask about their jobs and things like that. And they were asking about what I want to do, and I mentioned that I'm an artist and a songwriter. And like the A&R guy, he was like, if you have any songs that you think our artists want, then like let me know. So yeah, they were open, they were fine with it in that aspect, but I didn't know going into it if they were gonna just deny me right away if I said I was an artist. So
yeah, the tricky part comes for some areas, and why I got out of artist management specifically was when I would interview to get higher up positions, they were like, you have to be committed 100%, and we can't have you going out on tour every weekend because you'll be needed. So some jobs do require you to be out on the road even on the weekends as a manager. I mean, like, and management is hard. Like, you're not going to really get a job as a manager unless you want to be a manager, because they're not going to want you trying to get the same gigs in the back of your mind as your artist is getting.
There's a
so there is some professional lines that do need to be drawn, but that's why we're giving you some of these instead. So like digital management is always a good one, because you're probably already doing it for yourself. Include marketing. Yourself in your what?
You said digital management. Digital marketing?
Digital media management is kind of what I meant. Okay. Social media content, that kind of stuff. Photography. I love going to concerts and taking photos, and I did it to help my social media presence for my company. And, you know, that's really become my second hobby and love, and kind of turned it into a little bit of a professional career. And, you know, I went back to school for it now, and I'm still in school for it. So but I've loved it, and like that's always fun for me. So I turned that hobby into part of my job and part of a second career for myself that also encapsulates music as well. And, you know, then you get to go to shows and learn and see up close, and, you know, and you just see all the inner workings of like how all of this stuff comes together, and how the road works a little bit more. And, you know, so I've enjoyed learning a lot through that, and just how to treat people whenever I become somebody, like, you know, I think I've said it on here, how photographers get kind of the how photographers kind of get the butt of the joke sometimes as far as being allowed things. So like just treating people kindly and keeping that in mind.
Yeah, there's also like like I do production assistant work for like events and stuff. So that's another one where it's kind of like, it's not a consistent job, but it's nice that those events pop up every once in a while. So that's a little bit of extra money, but also getting to work in the industry and see that side of it. And then like, I think it's also good to mention jobs where it's not even related to music, because sometimes it's good to have something outside of music that kind of drives you towards working towards your career, so that way you can not live the rest of your life as like a barista or like retail, any type of like part-time job, server, bartender, any of that that's like outside of music. I think is another avenue of income that you could do.
Yeah, I mean, I've done all that stuff too. I get it. I don't know. I find that sitting at a front desk of an office, at least that's in the music industry, because most places want there to be a front desk person, to be a greeter, to do all of that stuff, and then they like don't care if you work on, well, I mean, they care, but like they aren't like gonna be mad at you for also working on your own stuff a little bit, or like getting to know people and have resources. Like when I was a front desk at an artist label, they were always like, if you ever want to use the studios, you know, like let us know if you ever. So it was always one of those kinds of things. And or like you have parking perks for, you know, little things like if you're at a show or something. So, you know, I don't think there's also nothing wrong with that. But again, just having your expectations of like, you know, that, and they'll probably know that you're doing it so that you have money so that you can be an artist. And then they're like, okay, but they want you to sit at the front desk and they're not going to be mad about that either. I mean, you just have to know that it's not the most exciting thing in the world. But again, you're learning and you're making connections and doing that kind of stuff. And most places want a front desk person that's just going to be a front desk person, as boring as it is. So,
yeah.
Oh, being a merch person. Have we not talked about that?
No, not really. I think you mentioned something of someone who has like a merch company, but not like being a merch person. Yeah.
So being a merch person going out on the road, I know we've talked about it a little bit in one of the other episodes. Maybe we did, because we talked about Martina McBride being on the road and stuff. So like that's an into getting on the road, and
that's true. Yeah.
So maybe we
but
did.
Merch is one, yeah. And I feel like we probably talked about being like a musician for other people and the other one too. I know we talked about being a vocalist for demo recordings, because we talked about Trisha. So, but those are other avenues. If you haven't listened to that episode and aren't referring back to it, I guess. But we recommend you do go back to that episode, because I feel like that's also good information about income that's like directly related to being an artist. Yeah. For the most part.
Being an usher at a concert venue, that also kind of gets you in the door a little bit to things, because, you know, you just never know who would be walking by. I don't know if we talked about this on the other episode, so if we did, sorry. But I used to usher at the Ryman, and I'd sit outside and talk to tour bus people all the time, and just have conversations about life on the road, and then like, or with their managers, you know, and you just never know what's going to come of that. And, you know, sometimes it's just a matter of like talking to people, and then they're like, well, hey, if you ever want to follow up, grab coffee with them and then have a conversation. And you just never know, like sometimes like the littlest things of just like getting some advice or something from someone, and they keep up with your career and see how hardworking you are, like can go a long way. I mean, so I would recommend that too. Plus sometimes there are some perks to working at some of these like concert venue type places, because then they want to support you and give you a chance to play your songs. Sometimes I know a lot of like bartenders and stuff like that will play in rounds, and then everyone comes out and supports and is like, yay, we love you. And then like Sittings at the Ryman like had a show once a year, and where all the employees could go and do like a talent of sorts. So it was like a big employee talent show.
Yeah.
And you got to say that you played on the Ryman stage. And sometimes there was people in the audience that would hear you. And one guy got discovered after doing that somehow. I forget the story of it, but he was one of the lighting guys and went on the road doing that.
Because I can't think of any more like specific ones. I guess there's like remote work. Like I do transcription editing, so it doesn't necessarily relate to music, but just like having a job that's remote where you can do it anywhere. Then, if you have time, if you go say like on the road and there's time during the day before the show, you can be making money before the show, and then hopefully you're making money at your show too. So
yeah.
But not just transcription. There's like you could do like virtual assistant work or data entry, really any of that stuff. I mean, just Google remote work and there's plenty of websites of different things you could find on there.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think that covers a good amount of things though. So hopefully that's like you found something that maybe sparks your interest if you are in the position where you're looking for other ways to make money as an artist or like while you're pursuing being an artist. So that way you can fund your projects or just pay your bills. Yeah, and I think maybe we should do, I don't know if it'd be a whole episode, but maybe we should talk about different things. Like you mentioned Kickstarter, there's Indiegogo and GoFundMe, like doing crowdfunding. Actually,
I think we've talked about it.
Wait, we talked about crowdfunding in the other episode. Yeah. But yeah, that's not really a job, but that is a revenue source if you have the fan base to support you with it.
Yeah. Or just even like using, like I said, your other talents and staying like connected and things of like doing music videos. I mean, extra work. There people apparently down in Atlanta, if you're in the Nashville area, go down there and do extra work in TV shows and make a whole living off of it. Like so because it pays like $100 a day, which is what you're making at your 9 to 5 potentially, and then like or more. Sometimes it's more because it's like
depending
$250.
on what your hourly
it
is.
just depends what your hourly rate is. But like, sorry, my nose. For a lot of starter positions, you're probably making what you're making or more at one of those things. So you go for 8 hours and get paid $250, and then on your merry way. You could be a dancer too if you already, I mean, like I do some dance stuff like that because I already love it and do it anyway. So then I'll like be a line dancer in a music video, and I've done that a couple of times. They're always filming Christmas movies and stuff here lately, so like being that's the thing. Yeah, I mean, and we're in a music town, so like if you're in a music town, being being a background dancer, being a background actor, just because all you have to do is just pretend to drink a beer and talk to people in the background a lot of times here because you're in a bar scene, and you get paid for it through some websites like Audience Company Nashville has paid work. Yep, will post paid work sometimes. There's Facebook pages like Nashville Actors that only does like paid background acting work. Doing local theater, sometimes you can get paid to do that as well. So again, keeping your vocal stability and stamina up.
Theater can help.
Theater, you can get paid.
You
can get paid to do theater. Yes. You can get paid to, I had something before theater. Music videos and
music
stuff.
videos,
yes.
Yeah.
You could get paid if you're already a dancer, be a dance teacher, you know? Or music video work, which we might have mentioned already in the other episode too. But being an extra, being an extra, I had another point with it. I don't know if I'll remember.
Leans into.
I also probably mentioned it in the how to be the other revenue source, but I don't know if I did or not. Do you remember if we did?
I don't think so.
Oh, okay.
I don't know.
Yeah.
That was a while ago. I don't remember. I know the couch was over there, So,
but the other problem with that is it's not necessarily consistent. Like and normally those things pop up like a day before. So it's like, unless like that is your full-time job of like just snagging those left and right and being consistent about getting them too, sometimes it doesn't always work out. But
yeah, I mean, that's the same thing with what I said earlier with like event work of sometimes those pop up like a week or two before. Sometimes it's like, hey, we need someone tomorrow.
Yeah.
But yeah, you could work events like festivals too. I know like CMA Fest employs a bunch of people for just working the festival, site managers, or just like temporary media staff. We did a couple years ago when we were at Belmont, things like that.
But again, it's just all being seen and being up in front of everybody and just like making those connections. And then once you start getting around people, they'll start to be like, hey, I've seen you around a whole bunch. Like, what's your story? And, you can kind of talk, or you already know who these people are and you have a question. You want to go up and say hi to them, and put yourself in those situations. So, yeah. There's some extra revenue sources that already use the talents that you're probably working towards as a musician and putting it into a different kind of revenue source about it. So
yeah, cool.
I was gonna say with the dance stuff too, just being like a fitness kind of instructor, like bar classes, which is like a combination of like ballet and like a HIIT kind of a class, I believe, or like Pilates or yoga or something like that. Again, keeping your body in like physical, because again, as a musician, you're probably going to the gym because you got to keep up your stamina and your endurance, and so by doing that and going to the gym, it keeps you on your toes still. So just some more things that while you're already at it, make some money doing it. Like that was kind of my thing and reasoning for wanting to do social media management and stuff, was because I was like, well, I was already doing it so much, like I might as well start trying to get paid for it. So
right, yeah,
now I do. So
yeah, cool. So if you have any other ideas that we did not speak about, you can always email them to us at themusiclenspodcast@gmail.com. Any thoughts on the ones that we did speak about, anything really, your experiences. We still want to do some sort of listener episode in the future of like just your stories of being an artist and your take on things. You can follow us at the Music Lens Podcast on all the things. Alex is at Alex Allegra Music on all the things, and I am at Katie Fee Music on all the things. And now I have said all the things way too many times. But yeah, I think that's it for this one.
Yeah, we'll see you guys next time. Bye.